So Wesley, our very first core value is Jesus is at the center.
Yeah.
Man, I love that, and it's clear why that's our first core value. Do you mind speaking into that?
Yeah, it's about integrated priorities. And we're not the first people to think of this or think of this language. But we talked about in our first vision meeting how that there's this skewed idea that you have to have a list of things that are important to you, and then you got to put God at the top of the list. Keep God at the top. And that didn't work for me because I found that if I put God at the top, I don't have time for anything else. Like when have I done enough for God? When have I worshipped enough? When have I served with enough excellence? So I can't put God at the top. And then what am I supposed to do? Put God fourth? Like after I get my family? No, of course. It's one of the 10 Commandments, right? We got to. What does that mean? We have to keep God at the top. So it didn't work for us in a list. So for us, we had to make a circle. And we had to put Jesus at the center of our organization. And everything that we do, that's why it's about integrated priorities. Everything we do gets woven into Jesus at the center, which is important for us, Caleb, because we're involved in the production, creative, worship sides of our organization. So piecing together worship experiences, planning, production, doing things with excellence. We have big plans for Verve, and we've already done things on campus. We've already hosted worship nights with students, and we saw hundreds of students drive tens of miles to come and worship in a chapel at this camp in the middle of nowhere, and you can tell that people are hungry for the presence of God. And so we're taking what we've already done, and we're really kind of vamping it up, and we're saying, how can we do this in a way that not just Jesus people love it, but everybody loves it, right? Because we want to reach people far from God. So to do that, we have lights, we have sound systems, we have speakers, we have pipe and drape, we have, atmospheres. We're doing all the things that we can do to create an atmosphere that's unrivaled on our campus. But sometimes we have to be careful because that can cloud out why we're doing it. So Kayla, why don't you talk to us a little bit about how Jesus is the center helps make sure that everything we do is serving our mission and our vision?
Yeah, simply put, what's a worship experience if Jesus isn't front and center?
Yeah.
That's the priority of an entire worship experience is that people encounter him. We're reaching a huge group of students that are far from God that, this could be their one day.
Yeah.
And, we have the honor and the privilege that that God has charged us to create that experience so that we can bring people that are far from him back home.
Yeah, that's good.
From a technical standpoint, I love John's account of what heaven looks like in the Bible. It's one of those things that when you're reading it, you're just like, okay, I can read the words, but man, I want to see this. That's what we're working towards. We want to create an environment that's so unrivaled that nothing matches it on campus, that people are like, I want to see that. I want my friends to see that.
Yep, I love that you mention John's account of heaven in Revelation. It's one of my favorite things to look at as it relates to atmosphere.
Yeah.
And he says that once I was in heaven, and he talks there's massive gates, just huge pearls that make up gates, and there's gold for as far as he can see, just golden walls. I think it was 1,400 feet high and wide and thick, and then there's like a sea of glass mixed with fire and crystal and an emerald rainbow on the throne and lightning and thunder and glory clouds and streets of gold. It's an atmosphere that even aside from the presence of God, it would be visually astonishing.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you saw it, even aside from God's presence, you'd be like, wow, I've never seen anything like this before. And the reason that we say aside from God's presence is because, man, in God's presence, it's always an astonishing. You're always going to stand amazed in the presence of God. And so I think that sometimes we get this backwards in the church and in campus ministries. You've heard people say like, well, I just think that you can worship God anywhere. You can feel the presence of God anywhere. And it's like, you're right, but that doesn't mean that our worship experiences have to feel like we're in a jail. God can move in a jail cell. He did it in the Bible. He does it today. That doesn't mean we have to feel like we're in jail. In fact, it means the opposite. It means that Jesus people can come together in any atmosphere, even one where there's lights and loud music and lots of energy and fun, and we can still praise and worship. Yeah. We can still seek God's heart. And then if there are people that maybe wouldn't be attracted to the worship or to the gospel aspect of it, maybe at their first time, we get them in the door so that they can come and see.
Yeah.
Right. So we want to create a buzz on campus of, hey, have you been to Verve? Well, could you just come and see? So that students who maybe aren't searching for Jesus, or they don't even know that they need to be searching for Jesus, will just come and see what God's doing. Just that draw.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, man. I can't wait for when we launch, because man, worship's going to rise on campus.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
People around Oxford are going to hear us.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it.
Man, I can't wait. I really do believe that a sound of worship is going to rise up from our campus, and it's going to be the both and, right? I think that a lot of times we think we have to pick, well, do we want to, be deep-rooted, gospel-saturated Jesus followers, or do we want to reach people far from God? We're going to be both, because we think that the greatest thing that we can do is see what God can do through us. So we're going to keep Jesus at the center, and we're going to create an unrivaled atmosphere so that students far from God will be raised to life in Christ all at the same time. It's an all-in-one solution, because we think that the gospel is the best message. It deserves the best presentation. We're going to do it in a way that draws people to come and see, and we're going to keep Jesus at the center.
Yeah.
Caleb, any final thoughts on that?
Man, just, thinking about all the planning and everything that we're putting into these worship experiences, I mean, we're going to strive for excellence, nothing less of what God expects us to do.
That's good. I love that you say nothing less than what God expects us to do. I say it a little differently. I love the way you said it. I always say that, I couldn't offer something that was too good for God. I couldn't offer something that was too excellent. I couldn't put together a production. I couldn't, put together a worship set that God looked at and said, it's okay, but it's a little bit overdone. I don't really want that. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Anything I can offer up, He's worthy of. I'm going to give Him everything I have every single time, and He's worthy of it. Yeah, I'm not going to overshoot His glory. Yeah. And that's the whole premise of creating an unrivaled atmosphere. Is, we know that we can't recreate heaven. We're not going to have as amazing of an atmosphere as heaven, but if heaven gives weight to what houses the glory of God and what that looks like, we should at least try.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what we're going to do. Is we're going to praise and worship God, and we're going to do it with such excellence that what He's worthy of, and we're going to make sure that while there's lights, there's music, and there's big projector screens, and it's loud and it's energetic and it's fun, Jesus is integrated in everything we do. Jesus is a center. It's about integrated priorities. Caleb, thanks so much for that question, man. It's a great conversation. It's our favorite core value, right? Number one. Without it, everything else collapses and doesn't matter. We're just another cool group of students, but with it, it's the power of God. So, man, thanks for the question. As always, all of our other core values are at verve.blue. You can check that out along with our mission, vision, and giving.